Hello garden friends, and welcome back to Girl Plus Garden. Today I just have a little bit of a chit-chatty update type of video to share with you all. I've got a lot of things going on and I've had a lot of mishaps over the last couple of weeks, so just wanted to kind of chat about that while I am re-sowing some seeds. I'll give more information about that in a moment, but of course, if you're interested in seeing what I've got going on over here, please keep on watching. Okay, so I have here in front of me my tray. This tray might look familiar if you have been watching my indoor seed starting series. This is the tray that I sowed all of my tomato, pepper, and eggplant seeds in. Well, unfortunately, that tray was destroyed a couple days ago. So I had it sitting somewhere which wasn't really ideal. But as some of you might know, my actual growing station is inside of our garage. And the garage is usually a lot colder than the inside of the house will be, especially when it's cold outside and things like that. So I had this tray sitting somewhere in a house. It was in one of the closets that are in one of the bedrooms, and I set it up there because they have some wire racks that are kind of closer together. So I had went and put a light inside of the closet above where the seed tray was going to be sitting, and was like, okay, we'll do this in the meantime so that I can get good germination on my seeds and so that they can stay warm and hopefully their growth won't be as stunted as it usually is when I have them just sitting in the garage. So yeah, everything was going beautifully, but the last couple of weeks have been a doozy of a couple of weeks, to be honest. I was supposed to post so many videos over the last couple of weeks that just didn't happen. I am in school also, so I had like back-to-back exams the week prior, and it was just a lot happening. And on this particular day when I caused the seed tray to fall, I was just rushing and doing things I could have been doing a little bit slower, or could have taken my time to do, because there really was no real reason to rush. But I had pretty much tripped on the light cord, and the light came down, which knocked the tray down, and literally all of my seedlings like fell over. Mind you, at this point I had some really good germination on most of my seeds. I think maybe 1 or 2 tomato seeds hadn't popped up yet, but everything was doing really well, and then just kaput, it's all gone. And I'll post a picture up here too so you can see the just chaos that it left. Now, I was able to salvage like the dirt and the seed starting mix that was scattered all over the floor, but a lot of my seedlings were crushed. And then the ones that weren't, I just, my labels fell out and I didn't know what was what. So I really didn't want to chance just picking up the seedlings that were still good and not really knowing what they were and mixing everything up. So the reason I'm out here today is 1, because it's a beautiful day, but 2, because I have to re-sow my tomato seeds especially. Now, my pepper seeds did survive. Thankfully, they survived the fall. So I'll show you guys, because I've been getting some pretty good germination on my pepper seeds, which look really nice. And I have one I did save, or one of my tomato cells didn't get crushed, thankfully. But those are some more peppers. Still waiting on a couple of them to germinate. But this is the one lonely tomato cell that didn't get crushed. These are my pink Berkeley tie-dyes and my Paul Robesons, which I have to say I'm more satisfied with than probably the rest of the stuff that fell, because Paul Robeson is one of my favorite tomatoes and I didn't have a lot of those seeds left, and the seeds haven't been germinating super well. So the couple that I did get to germinate, I am glad that they've been left unharmed. And same thing with the pink Berkeley tie-dye seeds, just no issues there whatsoever, thankfully. So I'm only going to be sowing tomato seeds, but yeah, I just wanted to share that story with you guys because I'm not going to lie, I really did want to cry when they all fell down. And I wish I had a picture of how well they were doing, because they were doing amazing, and I was getting so excited because the warmer weather is right around the corner. But you know, things happen, and sometimes in life you just have to roll with the punches, so that's what we're doing. I also have here sitting next to me, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, my all of my kales and collard greens and cabbage seeds that I sowed, I think in my very first video here. They're out here hardening off, and we'll talk briefly about hardening off because that is a very important step when you're starting seeds indoors especially. But yeah, they're out here. This is pretty much going to be their final day hardening off before I plant them outside, which will be tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. I'm curious to see how everything is going to go, because we're going to have some really warm weather, or supposed to have some really warm weather at the end of next week. I believe it's supposed to be in the mid 70s, which is kind of crazy, especially given how cold it was just a couple weeks ago. So I'm curious to see how all of my cool weather and spring stuff is gonna do, because you know, if it gets too warm too quick, I probably won't have much to harvest, unfortunately. So we shall see. Okay, I've got all my seeds out ready to be re-sown again, and while I'm doing that, we're going to talk a bit about hardening off. Now, what is hardening off and why is it important? Before I get into that, I'm gonna say that hardening off is probably, arguably, the most important step for your seedlings that you start indoors before you transplant them outside, right? Obviously, you know, you have to have seedlings in the first place, so making sure that you're taking care of them while they're indoors, all that stuff is still very important. But you will absolutely ruin your plants if you do not harden them off before you plant them outdoors. Now, why? The reason for having to harden off your seedlings before they are transplanted is because the light that we are using indoors, though it is strong enough to ensure that your plants can grow, or your seedlings can grow as they need to a certain maturity, when you put them outside, the sunlight is way stronger than any light they could have been getting indoors. Way stronger than any light they could have been getting indoors. So what you want to do is pretty much get your plants adjusted to the real sunlight. Now, that's pretty much what hardening off is. It's adjusting your plants incrementally to the actual sunlight before you transplant them outside. And the reason you want to do that is so that they don't burn. And yes, I mean that literally. Like, your plants will actually burn if you transplant them outside too early from being indoors. If the only thing they've known since they have been in the real world is artificial light, and then you put them out into the sunlight directly, they will absolutely die. And you don't want that. That will ruin the purpose that you started your seeds inside in the first place. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do with hardening off is adjust. So give your plants some time outside every day. I personally like to start off with having my plants in shade. So usually the first couple of days I'll give my seedlings 30 minutes to an hour in a shady spot, usually towards the middle or last half of the day or the sunlight hours, so that you know, I'm not exposing them too much off the rip, again, because they still, even at that point, can burn. But from there, I'll just adjust. I'll incrementally increase the time. Usually I'll stay, or let them stay in the shade for, I don't know, the first 3 to 4 days max. And then once I transition them out of the shade, whatever time I've gotten up to with them being in shade, I'll kind of cut that in half. So if, say, on the 3rd day I have left them outside in a shady spot for 4 hours, or we'll say 2 hours. Say I left them outside in a shady spot for 2 hours on day 3. If I decide on day 4 that I'm gonna move them into like a fully sunny spot, then I'll only let them stay out there for an hour. And usually what I like to do is increase every day, add an hour of time to that time frame that they're outside in the sunlight every day until I reach about the 6-hour mark. And then from there, I'll add about 2 hours every day until they get to the point where they are able to be outside for the entire day. And also with my warm season crops, what I'll do is, if the temperatures are warm enough at night, is I'll just leave them outside overnight and they'll stay pretty much for the entire day. Once they've reached, you know, that right time frame that meets the amount of sunlight hours that are actually happening on a given day, I'll leave them outside overnight and just let them stay. And by that point, I know that I'm pretty much at the point where I can go ahead and transplant them outside. Obviously, with your warm season crops, you want to ensure that your last frost date has passed, or at least that it's close to that, and you can monitor the weather to see what your forecast looks like. Usually if I have a 10-day forecast that doesn't expect to have any nights that go below freezing, or with certain crops below a certain temperature, then I'll go ahead and transplant my warm season stuff outside once they're able to withstand a full day of sun. So that's, again, a general gist of hardening off. I'm going to dedicate an entire video to hardening off in my seed starting series because, like I said, it is the most crucial thing, most important thing to do with your seedlings, to make sure that, you know, once you've finished nurturing them indoors and they're ready to go outside, that they can continue to grow and mature as you want them to. So my Dr. Witchy seeds did not germinate at all, at least from when up to the point before I dropped the seed tray and it kind of ruined everything. None of the seeds had germinated, but I still have some left. But I think what I'm going to do is mix some seeds up. So I have these 3. So we have Dr. Witchy's here. This is Kellogg's Breakfast, which is very similar to Dr. Witchy's. And then we have this Jubilee tomato. I think I'm gonna just mix up the seeds and just let it be a toss-up for what ends up going into the garden, because they're all orange variety tomatoes, and I'm not sure if the Dr. Witchy's are gonna germinate, and I don't really want to waste any more time waiting for them. And having to possibly replace them with something else in the future, especially since I kind of ruined my timeline with dropping the whole seed tray on the floor. So hopefully this will help me make up for that. I want to also apologize for my video quality. I've watched several of my videos back, and the sound on some of them is just awful. So if anybody, thank you to anybody who's been bearing through that, because yeah, it's a little bit much. But I have to say that I started this channel on a bit of a whim. Granted, I've been gardening for a while and have had several nudges to post things on social media for several different things, but gardening is something that I truly adore and that I'm super passionate about. So when I had this nudge recently, really at the beginning of this year, I didn't want to give myself any excuses to not do it, or to postpone or procrastinate or anything like that. So I said, just use what you have and we'll upgrade as time goes on. So I do have a microphone in the mail. It's coming. So the sound quality on the future videos should hopefully be better than what it's been so far. And then eventually I will also get a camera, because I've just been recording honestly on my phone, and I know that also kind of affects the sound quality and all that stuff, and the video quality as well. So listen, we're a work in progress over here, but I didn't want to delay, like I said, or give myself any excuse to not do what I was being called to do. So And to that, I also want to say, to anybody out there who is maybe questioning whether or not they should do something, I'll say follow your excitement. If you are excited about something, I personally think that that is most likely your sign that that's what you should be doing. Not saying that you need to dedicate all of your focus and time and energy to that one specific thing, but if there's something you are excited about, make time for it. Because now that I do this, even though I was so just unsure about how it was gonna go even after recording the first video, I find such joy and excitement with this now. And regardless for me of what this turns into, if anything, even if these are just videos that I get to look back on or that I get to share with my children, I get so much joy from it, and it's something that I love to do anyway already. I already love to garden, but I'm one of those people who gets very caught up in the moment and sometimes won't record things or won't take pictures of things just because I am so busy living in that moment that sometimes, even now, I think back to some of my previous gardening years and think, man, I wish I had recorded more videos, or I wish I had took more pictures, because I know that, when I'm not able to live in these moments in one specific instance, I'm going to be wishing I had some way to kind of look back and relive those times, at least to some extent. So yeah, follow the excitement and just do it. Do whatever it is that you're being called to do. None of my purple Russian seeds had germinated yet either. So even though I have some more seeds left, what I'm gonna do is the same thing that I did with those Dr. Witchy seeds. I'm gonna mix them up, but I'm gonna mix them up with something totally different. Just in case these happen to not germinate for whatever reason, I'm gonna mix them up with these Copper Beauty paste tomato seeds. These are delightful, and I haven't had them in a while, and I don't really have very many seeds in here, so this packet is going to be completely gone, but that's great, because if you watched my recent seed collection video, you know that I kind of have way more seeds than I need, so especially in the tomato department. So yeah, it's nice to be able to free up some of that space. All right, I'm pretty much all finished up re-sowing my seeds that I didn't have or that got ruined in my total failure. Even though I had a couple failures over the last couple of weeks, nothing's been a total wash, and we always have tomorrow, right? So we've made up for something today. If you've tuned in up to this point, thank you guys so much for watching. I am finishing pretty much on perfect timing because the sun is about to be directly in my face. So thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.